Hey there, welcome to Right Up Our Alley. If you are new to my channel, my name is Rachel and I am a homeschooling mom to 3 kids. And today's video is all about how we plan. So here is what I like to call my planning hub, and it really is the dining room table. I like to use my computer here, and it's really where the kids the majority of the time hang out. All the toys are out here. And this is where we have our kitchen, so I can easily access my coffee. And yes, I keep it in one of these with a lid for good reason. I learned the hard way not to have things that are open on the table. I use my... And that's why you have this. Today's video is going to be about me explaining how we go about planning. I am going to walk you through our process, so hopefully it will be really helpful to you. Planning is one of those things in the homeschooling realm that literally looks different from person to person. If you are on the computer like I am, yours is going to look so much different than mine. Also, a lot of people use actual physical paper planners. This is an Erin Condren from Target. There are about 1,000 different brands out there. There's free principles online. You name it, there's about 1,000 different ways you can actually go about planning your homeschool year. The first step I start with every year when I actually sit down to plan our school year is taking a look at our calendar. And for us, it means looking at our Google calendars. For you, you might look at your actual planning calendar in your planner. Also, some of you might just use a normal wall calendar somewhere in your kitchen. Whatever you have, it doesn't matter the calendar that you're looking at. It's really just important to figure out your vacation days first. Figure out how many days you want to take off throughout the year, and then you can determine when you want to start and end your school year. Our family homeschools 5 days a week, so I know with the required 180 days, then that's 36 weeks of actual schooling, and then I have to add in those vacation weeks, and we kind of plan from there. And I know that I want to make sure we have some summertime, and it usually lets out about the same time our local school does as well. So I go from that point and back it up, and this year our start date is going to be August 17th. And our end date will be probably the first week in June. Once I know that, I can go in and actually create an attendance sheet. Your state may or may not require this. I like to do it. My state doesn't require it, but I just kind of like to know a running tally of how many dates we're going to be doing it. So this file will be included in the description box below. All you have to do is put your start date here. You can do whatever day you would like, and it will propagate out accordingly. And when you put in your holidays here, as long as you keep the holidays in the J column, they will actually be taken away from the dates over here. The formulas are already in here for you guys, so make sure you just go ahead and download this file. It's super easy to use. The second part of my planning process, after I've determined how many weeks, how many days I'm going to be schooling, I take a look at the curriculum and then I sort of map it out over the whole entire year. And it looks something like this. Taking a look at our specific example. Now, I know when you first look at this, it might be a little like, whoa, Nelly, that is insane. I can't do something like that. And it really does look overwhelming when you first glance at it, but please do not be afraid of a curriculum map. That is the technical term of it. It is truly very useful, okay? So it takes it week by week. I have labeled it with the different subjects at the top, and then under each subject, I have each child of mine. So I'm going to run through something with you on how to actually set up this lesson plan. The first example I'm going to show you is for my older son and my daughter. They use the Good and the Beautiful for their language. It is an open and go curriculum, so it does have a set number of actual lessons, but you have to look at the table of contents and figure out how many lessons it's going to be. For example, this one is going to be 120. And so you just take the 120 lessons over the amount of days that you are going to be homeschooling. This is where your days of homeschooling will be a factor. you want to say, I have 120 lessons and I'm going to span it out over, for us, we have 108 normal days in the year. So that is about 1.1 lessons per day that we will be schooling. So therefore, I want to make sure I front load our first couple of weeks when I know we're not doing co-op. So then I'll do lessons 1 through 4, and then I'll do lessons 5 through 8, and I'll just keep going. And at some point, then I'll go down to 3 lessons a week. For us, yours is going to look a little bit different, but basically you just fill that in for language. So therefore, you then have this column filled in and this column filled in, already done. My daughter's math works the exact same way, and it has a set number of lessons. So I put that in as well, and I know that some weeks I'm going to be doing 2 lessons in a day. Now let's go over something that doesn't necessarily follow the designated lessons. For example, let's say you have a history curriculum like the story of the world, or you have something like, the Moffat Math Made Fun, where it gives you units or chapters to read. And the step I go about doing that is, how many chapters or how many units do you have? Space that out evenly over the number of weeks. For example, I know there is 11 lessons in my son's math. And so I will take 35 weeks minus our Christmas, by the way. I'll take 35 weeks and divide that by 11. So I know I'll spend about 3 or so weeks per unit. Now, I put in here, I do kind of change things around, and I might do more weeks for certain units. Like, I know my son might want to spend a little bit of time on his numbers and really get those really well as addition and subtraction. So then other things might just be 2 weeks because there's less material to cover in general anyway. My oldest son's Beast Academy works very similar as well to that, and that you have to sort of space out the units or the chapters throughout the year. Now let's get into an example that isn't so straightforward, and that is if you are maybe doing unit studies like myself. So when I'm talking about my unit studies, I'm talking about science and history here, and I am going in my curriculum map here, I am just listing our specific themes because we do a looping schedule. Now, a looping schedule, I am going to be explaining in the video next week how I loop and what I loop and how that all works. In my curriculum map, you can see here, I just do our specific themes. What specific topic we are going to be covering in a nutshell, the state we might be covering that week. It's just an overall general idea of what we might be covering. The majority of the time, honestly, we don't follow this very specifically because we might end up spending less time on space and more time on geology, just depending on how the lessons and how I end up going about our unit studies. It definitely varies a lot. But mainly with these kind of things, you want to go for a general, how long do I want to study this theme? How long do I want to study this specific art medium? For example, in this case, we're going to be drawing and focusing on that and using different resources like Art Hub for that. For painting, it might be the same. It might be the same website or even the same drawing, but then we're going to learn how to paint it. So you're doing kind of the same thing over again, but you're learning different mediums. And I think that's super important when you're talking about art. And again, for music and all the other general topics, I just put an overall general what we might be covering that week. After you've done those 2 steps, you know now how many days you're going to be homeschooling, as well as what your week looks like in a nutshell. So how do you get to the point of what do you do in a day? Because that's really what planning is about, is trying to figure out what you're going to do that day so you're not frantically looking around. I'm talking about this right here, where you have the dates on the left side and the subjects at the top. However you plan, whether or not you're planning in a normal planner or if you're planning on the computer like me, it's going to look basically the same. I need to go ahead and add the caveat of we actually do not do weekly planning. I am simply showing you this for those of you who want to do a weekly plan. What we do is a daily checklist, and I will show you that in my scheduling video on Friday. Here is a sample of what my weekly plan would look like if we did plan. So I would, of course, fill in, each specific lesson, and then I know on day 1, I want to cover lesson 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And then we're going to be covering lesson 1 for a couple of weeks in IEW writing. So I leave lesson 1 there, as well as the unit. I know we're going to be covering the whole unit that week, so I just leave that in. And then the same goes for these, and that these are lesson based. So the same rule applies. For my unit studies, I could try to guess sort of a lesson that we would be doing. Honestly, with our loop schedule, it's kind of difficult to keep a weekly plan, which is kind of why we don't have one. But I have put here for you guys a template for you if you do want to do this, and that it goes, you can fit whatever date you want to here, and it starts propagating out the numbers as well as the days of the week. And then you can fill in whatever subjects you want. For example, I know Parker will be doing lesson 1 the first day, and then you can just drag it down and you know that it will do all of your lessons that day. Claire's doing the same lessons. So there you go. You've got language already put in there for the week. My last step in planning stems from my desire to be prepared to record what we do in a year. Some states do require you to grade, some states do require you to test, and this is where you want to make sure you have a place to record this information. Our state does not require any recording of any kind. This is personally, I like to keep a record of just what we have done that year, and this is how I do that. I have a tab here called Curriculum Logs. And within that, I have the Good and the Beautiful, the Beast Academy for my son, the states that we're going to cover, and I really just easily check them off. Now, you might be wondering how I sort of check off my unit studies, and I will show you how I do that. Now, just to give you an example for science, I actually form specific lessons, and that is simply for me so I can just go through and check that we have covered those lessons. I do the same thing for history as well. I will show you how that looks from last year. So I'm in last year's homeschooling year. Our horse units go, and I break each unit down into lessons. If you want to know specifically how I do that, please make sure you check out my unit study video. What makes OneNote so great for recording is I actually, once all of this is set up, I don't touch my computer, really. Not very often, actually. I can just go use my phone and go check those boxes off. And I will show you how I do that. So this is what OneNote looks like on my phone. And I can just click my homeschooling year notebook, go to my curriculum log for the, at the end of the day and say, okay, we've done Parker's lesson 1 and lesson 2 of the Good and the Beautiful, and Claire's lesson 1. And then say we did a science lesson. We did that today, so we can click that as well. Everything is on my phone, which I love. And then I can go to my weekly log, and I have, week of, something, and I'll have a list of the different things. Say next week, something we might want to work on if something didn't go right. I list the games we play for our game day, and then maybe the shows or specific educational videos we watched, and then list the books that we read, and then sort of what we did that day. This week we went to the park, maybe with friends or something like that. And then I can also put in pictures directly from my phone. For instance, this summer we've been doing a lot of horseback riding, so I just take from my phone and insert them into, you can see here, I can go down and I can just click, and then you can add, here you can see you can add a picture, you can add even a sound, or you can even upload a file. There's so many different things you can do with OneNote on your phone. It is super easy, and you can have it all accessible right here, and it becomes honestly like a scrapbook at the end of the year, and that's what I really love about it. I know I have thrown a lot of information out at you, but I really hope it has been useful and helpful for you to start your planning process. And if you have ever any questions, please don't hesitate to comment down below and I will answer them. And do not forget to please download the templates from Excel. I have included them in the description box below. So if you're interested in sort of seeing what it's all about, don't forget to sign up for a free Microsoft Office account. I really can't stress enough how much planning effectively on the computer and thus having everything in my hand with my phone that I already have anyway, it has made my life so much easier as a homeschooler. Say I take a picture of the kids doing an activity, instead of it sort of getting lost and maybe not really seeing the light of day, I put it on here with its corresponding week, and it adds just a great picture of what we did that whole year, and it is truly beautiful. As always, if you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up because it really does help me out in YouTube community. And consider subscribing if you have not already, because this is really a great community that I am continuing to grow and look forward to it. Happy planning, y'all. Bye. Now, last week I did a giveaway on my favorites video, and a lot of you guys commented and really loved, especially the scrunch maps, which that's why it was my #1 favorite. I just absolutely love them. So I have to announce the winner, and the winner is Melissa. All right, dear, I will send you my information and we will get in contact so I can send you a lovely goodie, my dear.